identifies the resources that you need to meet your needs that you identified in Ring 3. So reflect for a moment about the needs that you listed. What specific things, organizations, places, or people have you tried, whether or not they have been helpful, to get that need met? Resources might include knowledge or strengths you or someone around you has, websites, brochures, training programs, public transportation, services in your community, providers, a case manager, local or national organizations, or books that you read to build a skill yourself. So resources can really range from a whole lot of different formats. Hopefully you've jotted down a list of resources that support you when you looked at your map on the last screen. If you haven't done that yet, go ahead and do that now. And one tip is to think creatively about your resources. If the needs are ingredients in a recipe, resources might include things like a favorite cookbook/recipe, particular brands of an ingredient, a store that sells everything you need on your grocery list in just one stop, or a friend that makes cooking a lot more fun. So when you're ready, enter information about each resource one at a time. First, you will type the specific name or a short description of the resource. For example, you might say Dr. Smith, or the name of a website, or my patients, or tech solutions. Next, you will be asked to describe what kind of resource it is. In the examples above, you might describe Dr. Smith as a pediatrician, the website name as a website, your patients as a personal strength, and tech solutions as an IT support provider. Next, you will be asked to click on each need that the resource helps with from a list that is generated by your own system support map. A resource can help with more than one need, or with many needs. Just click all the needs that the resource applies to. For example, time management skills are a resource that might help with many of your needs, while a specific piece of equipment might only apply to a single need that you listed. In the last step, you will be asked to rate how helpful each resource is, and then briefly comment on why that resource supports you or not, and what it is that's been particularly helpful or not. Here, we're interested in your personal experience with the resource, so answer for yourself. Don't answer based on what you think others think about the resource. And so the lines in the rings, the lines to the resources in Ring 4 will be color-coded to indicate their level of helpfulness that you say. So I am going to describe a resource here. I am going to say that Microsoft Outlook is a resource that I use. Oh, that's the specific name of it, so I'm going to put that in this box. I use a computer program. That's the type of resource, and it's called Microsoft Outlook. We'll use the type in the actual map, and you can choose whether it says computer program or the actual name of the computer program. And now I'm going to select all the needs that this resource supports. So this helps me access my colleagues' calendars to set up meetings. It also helps me access a list of existing partners. And I would say it supports my communication skills, because a lot of my communication is over email. And I find this to be very helpful. And I can describe why I feel this resource is helpful. It helps organize my email contacts and communication. All right, and now scroll back up here and hit next. And now I can see that the computer program, it's helpful, it's green. I indicated that's the color that corresponds to whether or not a resource is helpful. And that resource helps me with all of these different needs. It helps me with my communication skills, access to calendars, and access to a list of existing partners. So now I want to add another resource. So another resource I'd like to add is my supervisor. So what type of resource? I'm going to say personnel. and supervisor. And I'm going to say, we're going to use the name this time in my map. So this person helps me to access lists of existing partners. They've given advice about how to research new potential partners, and we've talked about the outreach approach that we want, the kinds of goals and expectations that we would like to set for our partnerships moving forward. And I found this to be helpful. Now I say next. Now my supervisor's added, and that resource is connected to the needs that it helps with. So now I'm going to add a need that, or a resource that is, let's say, not very helpful. So what resource do I want to describe? An information resource, and I'm going to pretend that my list of existing partners is not a very good list. So access to lists of existing partners corresponds to my outreach approach, and I'm going to say it's not very helpful because the list is outdated. So now I press next, and this time this resource is connected to the needs that I indicated, but this time the lines are in red, showing that it's not a very helpful resource. You can see that the map gets a little bit cluttered at this point because we have a lot of shapes and arrows, so you can play around with the positioning of it, but at a certain point there's just going to be some overlap. So kind of like it looking like this. One thing that's important is that we'd like to keep the like all of the resources in the resource ring, and that's relatively easy because each of the rings has a shape that goes with it. So in resources the shape is an oval and a color as well, so it's a black oval. In general needs we've got aqua rectangles, responsibilities are these blue rectangles, and then a role is a purple circle. So we don't want these in this ring or in this ring. We want to keep them in the ring that they correspond to. So here's your map so far. Please look at it and gather your thoughts about 3 things that, if they happened, would most support you in meeting your responsibilities. The next steps will guide you through entering your top 3 wishes one at a time.